That seems to work. Projector, monitoring. Okay. Witchy, witchy. Chest. Good. Just woke up. Stuff. Let's test the YouTube. Whoa. Morning, Nancy. Oh, great. My chat isn't working for YouTube. There must have been a update to make things better that made things worse. Alright, give me a quick second. I've got to do some resetting and operations here. It's working for the one on a craft stream, but not the one on the monitoring stream. Alright, we're going to go to the secret monitoring stream for just a sec. Good. There we go. Oh, I swear, these streaming plugins are always such a hassle. I just want to craft. Cool. Alright, we're past that. I'm glad I double checked that. That would have been awful. Ugh. So how's it going this morning, Nancy? Paints elsewhere for now. Clay Goobers from last time. Waiting on kids, huh? Waiting for them to wake up or show up? I am still half asleep. Eep. Brush. Just running some clay going. I also want to get the rest of this stripped. We'll start there. It's going to be a really, really quick job. Hopefully. This still feels wet. Wow. Ah, gotcha. Wow. This toilet paper clay I threw onto this project several days ago has still got moisture in the under layer. Not a lot, but it really takes this stuff a while to dry. And hands on the top, it's got that slightly cool, I'm still wet vibe to it. And the surface is kind of depressible, which tells me that the inner layer is not dry. It's just radiating cold. Or I should say absorbing a lot of heat. Wow. That is very surprising. Whereas this stuff is flat out dry. It's really interesting. Also, this stuff here was at the edge of the bowl where it was resting for quite a while. It's still absolutely moist. I had some external mold growth on there, which I really don't like. This is dry. Wow. Okay, so this toilet paper clay it really does not like to be in a thick layer. It takes 4 smegol ever to dry. Its texture is beautiful. God, does it take forever to dry. Yeah, its texture is gorgeous once it is dry. Okay, well, learning experience. Let's get some paste fart started. Let's get some paste farted, yeah. I wonder if I should be using this bowl. It's got some congealed crud in it. Rather use another bowl and give that some time to... this thing. Quick. surface deburring here. I'm gonna watch my mouse today too. How much water do I have nearby? Just this one. That's fine. Oh my. The tired is real. See what kind of viscosity we got before we go to glue. Hey Zed, how we doing? You having any better luck with your clay snot balling problems there? I know that was driving you up a wall. I can't say I blame you at all. Whew. A fair amount of glue in there. This right now is about how thick I like my clay paste. And today is early streaming for me, but I really wanted to get some more refinement done on this toilet paper clay. This is all help. Good. Good. That's working out better for you. I know it can be very, very frustrating, especially if you have to keep picking goobers out of a brush, or your nice smooth project is all of a sudden covered with crud. Nobody likes to do that. Tiny bit here because I do not have a lot to do on that pumpkin. This is going to be for our clay. I just want to get this set of strips done. There's definitely something up with the glue. 100%. I'm not sure what additive is in it. Because I doubted you would be mixing it with the drywall joint compound at the macheting step. And it definitely sounded like your macheting step was being the issue. I'm really curious, though, what additive it is, because over here, it's in the, that same additive, I believe, is in the DAP drywall joint compound. And it gives people absolute nightmare fits when they're trying to get their stuff set. Oh, this poor brush. I really should add some glue around there. It's getting loose. And that's what I was worried about happening eventually. Is that metal? Yeah, I could throw it in the vise and crush it if I need to. Alright, we're going to get this done and then we're going to do some clay experimentation. Should not take long. I only have about a little less than a half a section here to do. I am not putting multiple layers or too many layers on it. Just enough to hold clay. And then we'll call it good. Oh, man. So sleepy this morning. Echo, what time is it? Echo, what time is it?
It's 10:35 a.m. By the way, I am trying to respond from the right place. Was this the device you expected?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
10, 1, 12, 1, 2, 3 p.m. in the UK, if I remember right. Yeehaw. Oh, nice. Very nice. Claying's one of the better parts, I think. Claying and sculpting. One of these days, I would love to find a way to get a pumpkin paper form or project paper form. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a pumpkin. In a faster, more reliable way. I thought of trying to use pressed cardboard, but that all involves having a form pre-set up and I've seen folks do it with 3D printed parts, and I've got a 3D printer, so that's possible, but wouldn't be able to print something to do something this large. Oh well. Project and problem for another time. Could almost use two fit together bowls to do it, but they'd need to be true hemispheres. And then you need to glue them together. Whew, I suppose you could mache them together. Either way, there's no perfect solution until somebody makes a 79-cent pumpkin form. 79 cents to $2. Ugh. One more layer on this. Call it good. I will give layering one thing, and that is that it can be relaxing if you just want to turn your brain off and do a repetitive motion. Yeah. I'm with you there. I was also looking a little while ago to see if some company made an inflatable pumpkin. And they do have them, but you're still left with the problem of putting layers of strips on it. I would definitely love to get a compressed cardboard system up and running. Or quite frankly, any kind of compressed fiber to give you a practically instant pumpkin shell ready to go. But you do kind of run into the uniform size issue. I do tend to think one of the things that makes pumpkins look a bit nicer on Halloween is having all sorts of variable sizes and slight variations in shape. And if you had a uniform system like that, then all your pumpkins would really look the same. Done. Good. also got some of that fiberglass reinforced tape that they use for packing. Eventually I want to try to do an inflatable with one of those. You very much could do a vacuum pressed form. That one's just down to the fact that not everybody's really got great access. And if I did something like that, I'd have to make it, and then I'd probably have to try to sell it to make it profitable. Or at least not I spent X gazillions on a vacuum former for this one thing. And quite frankly, I don't want to get into sales. Fiberglass is interesting. I know some folks actually who use fiberglass. Or I should say I know of some folks. And those are absolutely great. Honestly, especially if you're doing large ones and you do a carved foam form, and then you can throw those fiberglass resin packers on the outside, and you get one hell of a great form. But then you're working with carved foam. My goal in a lot of this is to make this as accessible to the average home hobbyist as possible. And not everybody's got the comfort level to work with any kind of complex stuff. So you either need a source of an incredibly useful form that is cheap, and I do mean stupid cheap, or you need a easy way of manipulating home materials into doing it. And so far the beach ball method has been the simplest thing I can think of to get easily accessible stuff that's cheap to do it. But it means you have to go through the layering step. The only reason I am continuing to layer right now is the fact that I've got a bunch of these pint-sized strips left over. Yeah, I hear you. It's not first year in the UK, is it? I'm guessing that's more first year actively trying pumpkins yourself. Beach ball method is so superior to the trash bag. Trash bag's functional. Trash bag will get you far more unique shapes and is far more able to produce more unique shapes. But you will always have a rumbly bumpus. Okay, yeah. Good. Hey, Berlina, how we doing? Got a sunbeam coming right at me through the window here, which is making my screen a little bit brighter than it usually is, since I'm usually doing this at night. Nice. I'm glad that Halloween's spreading out more to the UK. When I was in Southend-on-Sea, it was sort of there. We had a couple of kiddos come around, and I was out in costume, but that was back in 2009 to 2010. So, 13 years ago now. Those kids are all adults. Ah! Stupid time! Time petition. Need you to stop passing, please. Alright, we're almost out of strips. I figured this would go fast. I'm kind of zooming right along. Yeah, even over here in the U.S., a lot of the pre-made pumpkins at the craft stores are, I want to say, prohibitively expensive. They're not that bad, but they're foam, and obviously during the fall season is when they tick up the prices to a stupid degree. All right, good. That's all my strips. I'm going to go throw this thing in front of the fan, and then we're going to get to work. Oh, a couple more strips. Still going to throw this thing in front of the fan in a second. Oh, this clay that I have on here is making everything off balance. Which is expected. And easily dealt with. Suffice to say, the gripe I had in my original video remains the same. Funkins suck. Alright, now let's throw this in front of the fan. And we are going to make some experimental clay. I carefully make sure I don't knock over too much. We'll get this back in a sec. Oh. And we'll crane the fan back a bit. Ugh, close enough. Oh. Oh, my foot is just killing me. Oh. Prices for the pumpkins. Pricing pumpkin, quite frankly, I've never really done it. I think I thought about it once. That was a couple of years ago, several years ago, in fact, many years ago, if I'm being blunt. And more paper strips. We're just going to forget we saw these. You know, it's a good topic. Let's briefly chat about it before we crank the thing. How do you price your pumpkins? Let's briefly figure here. Most of us are all pumpkineers, and we know the time requirement. Let's see here. If I'm gonna, let's talk a couple different sizes. Let's talk. It's one of my tiny boys. Alright, they just want to stay out of reach. Let me grab my grabber so I can grab it without falling down and crushing my head. Alright. Let me drop my grabber because of course. Alright. So let's talk pumpkin pricing. Let's talk sizes, time, and input here. Bing, bang, boom. Alright, that's hard to see, but it still remains relevant. Okay, so let's go through the phases. We got tiny pumpkin, middle pumpkin, presumably large pumpkin. How long would it take me to add strips to at least 4 or 5 layers to all these? This little guy here can be done in about an hour. In fact, an hour is probably being generous. I could probably strip him up completely in about 20-30 minutes. This guy, I'm going to be adding strips to him for about an hour or two. I'm just going to say 1.5 hours. This guy, I'm going to be adding strips to very annoyingly for, I'm probably going to go 30 minutes world time. He's probably going to take about, I'm just going to say another 1.5 hours. Alright, now assuming I'm slapping clay on them, I can clay this guy in about, and this assumes I'm going to texture the clay correctly. In 30 minutes. I'm going to slap on my clay and I'm going to texture it. I'm just going to say that's an hour. I'm going to say claying this guy is going to be about 2 hours. Yeah. It really is time. And then we come down to the real bit is also how are you going to sculpt and how long are you going to take to sculpt? Like I've screwed around with this guy maybe about almost 2 hours now between getting everything lined, messing with the face, carving it out. He's a medium. This guy, I built up several layers on the eyes. He's probably, then doing all the teeth, sculpting all these ridges. He's probably about 3 to 4 hours. I'm just going to say 3.5. And this guy here is maybe, I'm going to say about 2 hours, dicking around with all the tiny little details. And then you're going to paint them. You're going to do your inside white. If you do it with a brush, it takes longer. If you do it with a spray, it's shorter. Let's say we're doing it with a spray because we're going to sell this stuff. We're going to invest the time and energy into mass producing. So I spray the inside. That's going to take, 5-6 minutes. So not substantial. And then I'm going to do the outside. Oh, God, I didn't even think about stems. I'll think about stems later. Outside, let's say I invest in an airbrush and some spray paints. Doing a full pumpkin, 20-30 minutes to do it right. And then you've got your detail, because if you're going to put the little brown lines in and then go over that, let's just going to say it's going to take about an hour and a half to properly paint. Large, small, the tiny guy. 30 minutes to paint one. And then you're going to varnish it. Let's do a little thing here. So a tiny little guy. You're at about 3.5 hours. A medium guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're at about 6 hours. A large guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're about 9 hours. And that's down to how much do you charge per hour? Because let's face it, the supplies are flour, glue. You know, they're not exactly hugely stuffed. You know, I mean, minimum wage is over in the U.S. What is minimum wage in New York State? Echo, what's the minimum wage in New York State?
In 2019, New York State's minimum wage was $11.10.
11.10 in 2019. So even if you're at a tiny pumpkin, making minimum wage, absolute garbage, is in the U.S. about, I mean, easily at least like $40 for something this small. You know, palm of my hand. This item at minimum wage is $40 for your time investment. This assumes you want to get a reasonable return for your time. This guy right here at minimum wage is going to be 66. He's going to. This guy here, minimum wage is going to be at least $70 just for time input, and the big guy is going to be practically $100. And now you look at, now those little foam pumpkins don't start to look so terribly expensive anymore. Now if I walk into a store and, you know, I got $30, I can get myself a foam pumpkin that's about that size or larger, because they're just, you know, mass producing those things on a great big assembly line. But, I mean, in terms of your time that actually goes into it, at 2019 minimum wage, this guy is practically, you know, $40, and the big one is almost $100. And generally that's why I don't sell these things, because my time input and my personal value are significantly greater than anything anyone wants to pay. And that assumes I'm paying myself minimum wage for this. These are better quality in terms of artistic effects. Lasting longer, I'll debate a little bit, because that foam is completely immune to any water effects. I'm willing to bet with a layer of urethane on this will stand up better to UV in the sun. So let's just say last longer is debatable and dependent upon conditions of storage and maintenance care. But I agree with you, if you take care of one of these, they will last every last bit as long as a polyurethane one. But along those lines, if you take care of anything, it'll last that long. So you've got that, no matter what, you've got that handmade price. I don't want to say detract it, but you have that handmade price factor into anything you've got. So it's down to, what's your time worth? Are you doing this for fun? You know, if you decide to pay yourself $20 an hour, then this thing here suddenly becomes a $200 item. And most folks really just are not willing to dump $200. And that assumes this is fully painted in urethane and everything else for one thing. And then you're going to look at shipping. This thing right here is maybe it's practically a 10-pound item. Anything goes wrong with shipping and this box gets dropped and smashed, these guys are pretty resilient, but their resiliency has limits. And now you run into the problem of a handmade item being shipped. Let's say I pack the living snot out of it. I fill the whole inside with packing, bubble wrap, and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm out maybe 10, 12 bucks on packaging alone. This is where it really becomes problematic. And then the other factor that comes into it is, am I going to take this to the local craft fair and do it, or am I going to throw it up on eBay or Etsy or some online market? But one of these guys to ship is going to be, I mean, I would guess conservatively that if I was shipping this thing, it's probably going to be about $35 to $40 with the weight and depending on the distance. So now if I'm paying myself a, not terrible wage of $20 an hour, this pumpkin becomes a $230 to $240 item to ship within continental U.S. I mean, the UK, I don't even know what Royal Mail rates are doing these days. You're not going to be shipping it as far because UK size is about equivalent to New England plus New York, Pennsylvania-ish, and some of the lower states. But yeah, it just turns into a profitability conundrum. So, yeah. That's what I'm looking at for pricing. Yeah. Yeah, local definitely. And obviously you can cut down on some of your crafting expenses by simply doing, the production line style. I've got 5 pumpkins. One day I'm going to strip all of them, and I'm going to clay all of them. And there are ways to maximize the efficiency of your crafting. But in terms of individual pumpkin worth, you can't lie with the time it takes to do a lot of these chores and what your time is worth. If you pay yourself nothing, then you can produce them cheaply. And of course, part of the fun too is the fact that people are going, "Oh my God, look at that thing!" And I made it. Oh, you made it? Oh my God, how'd you make that? That's incredible. And that's fun to hear, quite frankly. So, pricing is tough. Pricing is very tough. Your time investment alone, though, means that they're not cheap. Because they can't be. Any additional questions or opinions that you want to pick my brain on about pricing? Or did we cover it to everyone's satisfaction? Yeah, it's down to your time. What's your time worth? And it becomes even more obnoxious when you start to think of a living wage. Oh yeah, it is nice to be an artisan in that regard. I mean, right now, as a school teacher in the U.S., I am making about $60,000 a year-ish after 12, 13 years of experience. So I'm making, let's just let's translate that to pumpkining real quick. Let's say I want to go professional and maintain my current standard of living. There are 365 days in a year times 24 hours. So 8,760. Let's say 60,000 divided by 8,760. $6.849. That seems a little bit off to say I make $6 an hour. Oh, I know. We gotta do the whole working week here. So this is, God damn it. Oh, the math. Yeah, I agree. Line production is awesome, especially since you've always got a project that's dry to keep working on. That drying time gap over is pain in the butt. So let's say I'm working 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year. Okay, 2,080. All right, so $60,000 divided by 2,000. Okay, so I'm making approximately, rough rounding errors, $30 an hour at my current job, and I've got health care on top of that. So if you're crafting from home, you won't have full health care. But now my 9-hour large pumpkin becomes $270 just flat out. It's worth 9 hours of my time. And then add my health care on top of that. You're looking at a $350 pumpkin. Even the small one at 3.5 hours, now my tiny little grapefruit-sized pumpkin is $100. Plus health care is now $120. You just, all right, the prices become so prohibitive on a living wage system. I mean, obviously that's where mass production takes the cost right out of it. If I had a machine cranking out forms, pressing all this together, kaboom. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. NHS, God, I wish we had it in the U.S. So much. But this is where pricing pumpkins becomes problematic in the extreme. What's your time worth? You're an artisan doing a job. And some people have what they call a day rate. So they'll say, it's going to take me 6 days to make your pumpkin, or my day rate's $200 a day. Boom. And they'll do it based on that. But when you get down to crunching the numbers a little bit on what your time is worth in a living wage job, it becomes very prohibitively expensive for what you have to charge for your art. Hence, the starving artist. Alright. Just trying to grab my drywall joint compound here. And that's why I don't sell my pumpkins. I might give them away, but typically I don't sell them for that precise reason. Is to charge what they're worth. Makes the market and expense very prohibitive. It's probably more joint compound than I need. But I don't mind having a bit extra joint compound. Don't ever let those bastards take away the NHS or defund it. Privatized healthcare is a scam. A criminal scam. Yeah, and that comes with the idea of you're doing it for a hobby. You're not doing it for a living. You enjoy doing it. You got some extra stuff. May as well let people enjoy it. And for that angle, charge what you want. You want to charge 50 for a big one, 20 for a small one? Do it. There's nothing stopping you. Oh, God damn it. Fire all your politicians. The last time I was in the UK, everybody hated all the politicians anyway, so that was already happening. Healthcare should not be privatized. Then you got a U.S. system before you know it, and then you got people who can't go to A&E because can't afford it. And then you get the true criminality, which is insurance. And insurance is a completely criminal enterprise. Alright. Which brings us to today's experiment. Which is, in the past we would use our cellulose fiber in our clay, and today we're going to replace it with toilet paper. And see what kind of results we get. Hey Roseanne, how's it going? So we're going to see how much TP it takes, how well it mixes. I should say how well it mixes by just adding raw fibers to this, because my moisture is already in here, so I'm not pre-moistening my toilet paper, which is probably a horrible, horrible idea, but we're going to try it. Yeah, I want to make, I want to try for greater accessibility of the formula. And not everybody has access to fibers, but everybody should have access to toilet paper. Everybody, everywhere. I probably ought to swap the head out on this thing to the whisk, but let's see. I've never done it this way either. I should say normally I take my paste and drywall joint compound mix, and then I add my paper fluff. So I'm just trying this as toilet paper is paper fluff. Yep. Lots of ways to do it, Lord knows. But let's see if this method works. And let's see how easy or annoying it is. I don't know. This could be completely untenable and an absolute pain in the wudja flubber. But how do you find out if you don't experiment? I don't know. Anybody else getting frame drops? Hey, Linda. Alright, my paste is starting to thicken. I kind of wish I had a blender up here. But fortunately, since toilet paper tends to break down so rapidly and easily, I don't think this will be a huge issue. Good stuff, Verlina. Have a good one. Yeah, we're testing toilet paper clay, but where Joni moistens her toilet paper first and then adds the ingredients, I'm taking this just like I would cellulose clay. So I had my paste in the bin here, and now just as if I was adding cellulose fluff clay, I'm adding the toilet paper fibers to this. So we're going to see what's what. I kind of wish I had some means of, quite frankly, powdering this toilet paper first. And I suppose I could, but it's... Again, we want to make this accessible for anybody at home, anywhere. Anybody can grab some toilet paper and just start giving it a little bit of fluff. The paste is the exact same paste that I use for paper mache clay, which is just going to be flour, water, glue, and drywall joint compound in a moderately thick mix. And now I'm going to add fibers until I like it. So it's the opposite method of Joni's, and we're just doing a does this even work test. And I'm going to try to get this pretty much to just how I like my clay. Joni tends to work with clay that's a little bit, quite frankly, to me, if I followed her recipe correctly last time, to me it was like sculpting with cake frosting. And I like my clay a little bit more clay-like. So right now it's kind of at that cake frosting consistency, but I'm going to keep adding fibers until it's... I want to see if I can get it the way I like it. Yeah, you'll find it in my version 1 paper mache playlist. The only thing that's different, I think it's in the version 2. The recipe is in the version 2. But the how to make it animated version is in version 1. And I don't use liquid starch anymore. Yeah, sorry, normally I mute this when I do mixing or I do it off camera, but it's the whole point of today, and if I kept switching back and forth to mute every single time I added more stuff, that would be more annoying. So, my apologies if the mixing noise is annoying. At least the toilet paper really is breaking down exceptionally well. So I'm definitely getting, even without me doing any kind of pre-breakdown steps like moistening the toilet paper, it's turning to mush very, very nicely. I would say this stuff right now is probably about how Joni usually likes her clay. It's eminently spreadable. Of course, I am entirely guessing at how Joni likes her clay. But it's to the consistency that I believe I have seen her use before. To me, it's incredibly tacky. This stuff is absolutely sticking to my fingers 1,000%. This would get very frustrating to use if I was using it normally. So I'm going to keep adding fibers and see if I can turn this into what I like. Realistically, I should be able to, because this is all I do with regular clay anyway. You're just adding cellulose fiber insulation until you like it. You know, I like her stuff definitely for the smoothness of the clay afterwards. It's absolutely like butter. Makes a beautiful, beautiful external coat. But I don't like to sculpt with frosting. I'm changing from fiber because I've got my first pumpkin video concept on the horizon, and not everybody in every country has access to easy insulation fiber. So, choo-choo, I'll take it. But everybody's got access to toilet paper. ease of accessibility. Alright, it's already doing one thing that I like, and that is it's starting to ball up, but it's still really, really tacky. And I've got this sticking to me too much. Getting the lumps out of the cellulose fiber is an absolute pain in the butt. I have just learned to work around them more than anything. And or sometimes you can throw them in your mixer, whatever your mixer happens to be, and pre-shred them so you get the lumpity-bumpities out of there. This stuff is again starting to get more like I like it, but I don't like that tackiness. It's gonna absolutely stick to my fingers. Oh jeez. Ah. Hey, if it's project time, then that's good puppy. However, if it's not project time, that's bad puppy. I protected you from the evil toilet paper. Definitely doing what I like and turning into... Ooh, hey. Ooh, hey. Ooh, hey. That's better. And that's tacking up on me just a little bit. I'd say we're getting really close. That's not bad. Okay. I'm going to add a tiny bit more. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can reset the Twitch in your chat. Ugh. Oh, she's coming up on yours. Or I should say Choo Choo's coming up on yours. Yep. Yeah, you can see it on that one there. I am multicasting to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube all at the same time. So you will not see it in the YouTube chat, but you will see it in the on-screen chat. There's no way to get those systems to play nice with each other. Alright, with any luck, this will be the last little bit of fiber I add. Yeah, Twitch is just another streaming service used primarily for gaming. But there's also a small crafting community on there, and a few other specialties. And for me, it's just a matter of spreading the wealth. There are crafters who game, yep. Yes, pretty much the starting paste recipe was bar basic for me. Slightly thicker paper mache paste based on my normal recipes. I think this is good. And now the question is, does it sculpt and does it smooth? So I like what we've got here. God damn, that mixer is the best purchase I ever made for this hobby. If I was doing that with a paint mixer, I'd be sitting here forever. So that was about maybe 1.5. I mean, this is a fairly small roll of toilet paper. I used maybe 3 cups of water. There's almost a ballooning effect to the amount of clay. It really produces quite a lot for the amount of fluff. There's a bit of tack to it, but I don't think that's insurmountable at all. Right. The fact that I'm multi-streaming shouldn't be a buffering issue. I'm not quite frankly sure why it's giving you trouble, Roseanne. If everybody was having trouble, then we know it was a more universal issue. But unfortunately, you drew the short straw. Alright, so let's make some smoothing paste, which is just some of the regular clay paste, but with a bit more water added to it. And then let's do some sculpting and let's see what's what. It seems like the method's viable, though, and that's what I really like. I can tell everybody in the My First Pumpkin video, don't go out and try to find this weird-ass supply that isn't everywhere. Just get some toilet paper. That way, the weirdest supply they're going to have to find is the drywall joint compound. And if that's as weird as they need to go, then great. Alright, so I'm going to bulk up this guy's eyebrows a bit. Pardon. Yeah, that's so much better for me. This is like clay. This is not like frosting. It's not spreading as nicely as the frosting does, but I believe that giving it a hit of smoothing clay will handle that. Right, that is the big kicker. Everybody who's doing it, in order to make it a nice, good craft, should be able to do it with minimal minimal inputs. Alright, might be a little bit more than one. Okay. So now let's pardon. Lines back in. Nice. Congratulations, Juju. I wish I had a family of my own, but oh well. Yeah, it is also tough being rural and trying to get all supplies. Okay, so that is a bump up. Let's see how well it smooths. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say it probably won't be smoothing as well as Johnny's stuff. Though I did not put any of the oils in here that she occasionally throws into her mix. The last time I did that, it took forever to dry. That was a brush smooth. Let's see if a little bit of hand smoothing on top of that improves it. It just might. That's true. That's true. I don't mind the linseed oil too much. But like I said, it just means it takes flip all ever to dry. I could probably throw stuff in the dehydrator and wouldn't be so bad. So here's trying to blend these surfaces a little bit. So here's kind of the light is not being nice to us, but that top eyebrow ridge there is this method. And to me it looks a-okay. I'm willing to bet that there's less water in it than Joni's typical stuff, which for me is kind of nice because so far the experiment I did with Joni's clay has really, as soon as that clay gets thick, it takes forever to dry. It's really kind of like, use this for surfaces only. But with this stuff, I think there's less overall water content to it. We'll see. I could be completely off. My dehydrator is just big enough to fit this guy. So anything bigger than that won't work. Mind you, you can always throw these guys in the oven, as long as you set it to like 100 to 200 degrees tops. Don't go nuts with the heat. They'll be fine in there. But you can also easily make a little drying oven for them with a couple of heat lamps and some insulation foam. Be simple. Well, the next experiment I want to try, Linda, is going to be a hybrid. I want to try some toilet paper and cellulose fiber together. I thought about trying that today, but I thought, let's really just focus one aspect. Like I said, this is tacky, but it's not too tacky. Quite frankly, I'm not looking forward to doing the sculpting for my first pumpkin video, just because I won't be using these tools. I'll have to be using like a butter knife and a pen. I've really gotten used to these. Oh, dearie, dearie, dear. I'll probably have like a low buy-in cost and a slightly higher buy-in cost version, where I'm like, if you're going slightly higher, get yourself these things. That's again why I'm interested in hybridizing the fiber and the toilet paper, because maybe only a tiny amount of toilet paper is needed to get yourself a much better amount of smoothing. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, that is another problem. When I put them in the dehydrator, they're all beyond the beach ball phase. You can't put a beach ball in any kind of accelerated heating environment. You're pretty much guaranteed to have a blowout. It's not too bad. This is certainly so much better to work with than the cake frosting clay. Infinitely better to work with, in my opinion. if I can find, one, a source of toilet paper that's very cheap, and two, a means of getting it shredded down that's incredibly easy, I may switch to toilet paper. And I also want to see how well it dries. I should mention that definitively. Because as I said, that other toilet paper was not drying worth a snot. So this stuff is weak. I shouldn't say weak. It's if this stuff takes for flip all ever to dry and can't handle thick layering, by that I mean like a half inch, because the other stuff just couldn't even handle a half-inch layer without a real moisture bog down. We'll see. We'll see. I actually want that curled up. Smooths tolerably well, though. No issues there. And it's not cake frosting. Too nitpicky on these details here. Good. Alright, so there's a couple of enhanced eye ridges out of this modified clay. We've got to do some mouth ridges and a little bit more. Just I want to do something with this mouth, but I need a pumpkin holder. This dry quickly. Good stuff, Zesta. Thanks for hanging out. Glad your clay conundrums or your paste conundrums are at an end, and we'll catch you next time we catch you. Have a good gym time. And truth be told, I will be hybridizing the clay, I think, for a long time until I run out of cellulose fiber. I have tons of that stuff. But in terms of making this accessible to more folks, the toilet paper is nice and easy. My back always goes to snot when I'm claying or doing the other stuff for a long period of time. This stuff also really makes nice worm sections. Does a little bit better than the cellulose clay. Unless you get the cellulose clay just right. But that doesn't always happen nicely. Excellent. Cold porcelain clay. I've never utilized that. There's a number of really cool modeling clays out there. Do good jobs. This over here. Alright, good. And this stuff is also getting kind of crumbly when it gets dry, which means it will come off my hands. I'm a huge fan of that. Ooh. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. Yeah, this stuff really does smooth quite well. Kind of think I'm over detailing a little bit, but that's why we experiment. The big question will be how well this stuff dries. And can it handle layering of any kind of thickness? Yeah. I always do need to remind myself that these guys are not going into the Louvre. They're just going to be out on Halloween night looking kind of spooky. So it's one of those, it's no reason to do a bad job, but it's a reason to check your expectations. Do a little bit of time and effort modulation. Alright, this stuff shapes quite well. Shapes well, smooths well, isn't cake frosting. Da-da-da. And we'll finish giving him this tooth job, and then we'll see what else, if anything, it's doing on him. I usually only do the Lysol if I plan on keeping the clay around for any length of time. And lately, with this nice little mixer here and my ability to rapidly small batch things, that has really been an extreme rare occurrence of late. So it's one of those, yes, you can do it. Do I do it anymore? I don't have to do it anymore. I also tend to find that clay that is kept too long, I don't like its texture. And so I try to really, really small batch my clay. Keep a pumpkin around to keep a half-finished pumpkin around all the time to absorb any extra clay, and you're good. All of this is going to go into the My First Pumpkin video that I'll be making eventually. And all my live streams are available to watch. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that because they tend to be very long, and finding the information in them is upsy-downsy. But all this information will be completely cataloged in the My First Pumpkin video, because I am going to recommend that anybody who is doing this for their very first pumpkin use the toilet paper in the clay. No reason to send them to a store to get 12 to 14 pounds of cellulose insulation when they've already got this in their bathrooms. And there will be a disclaimer of, if you're doing this for the first time and you're just going to see, do I like this? Does this work for me? There's no reason to buy excess materials. Just grab 2 rolls of toilet paper. Well, actually, it's probably going to be about 4 or 5 rolls of toilet paper. But you're not going to be out in the weird supplies for a startup. My first pumpkin video is also going to have a very, very simple, just a smiley face, pumpkin look, pattern, everything for an absolute beginner just trying to see if they like this and might be interested. And I'll probably have a couple of variable stages of finishing in that video as well. We'll have some fun with it. Just go to, I think it's twitch.tv, Roseanne. And in any search on there, just enter Drakenfang. I should come up as being live, because I'm the exact same name over there. How's this goober face guy looking? Bad. That looks a little weird to me, but nobody's going to care. Alright, we'll keep sweating the details on him for another little bit here. The other thing that you can do on YouTube is lower your video quality. I think like 144p is the lowest you can go on there. And if you're not getting good rates at higher resolutions, I think I stream at 720p, but you can drop that down and your rate should pick up. Alright, let's just do this other corner of the mouth. Ooh, we'll have a little think about a nose. Alright. Let's do some fine sculpt. Careful. Hey, Lily. How we doing? Trying out the new clay. Could go bananas with this, but then I would be fit to be tied. So we're going to do just enough to be happy with that. And then we'll see how this dries, because that's going to be a big, big deciding factor in how good this clay is. Nice. Very nice. All right. Alright, so here's our boy with some bigger eyebrows and some mouthy flubblebubbles. modified clay seems pretty good. Then, do I want him to have a nose? Or should he say kind of froggy, flat-faced? And should that nose be carved? Or should that nose be protruding? I honestly have never really made a pumpkin outside. Oh, we're gonna nose him. Oh yeah. He's getting nosed. I already like how that looks. Though I do know that if you make a pumpkin outside, you gotta watch your beach ball. Assuming you're using the beach ball method. Which everybody should use the beach ball method. But none of that. The downside with this nose is that we're not going to be able to do much on it at any given time. Because if I was to build it up to where I want it, clay would be inches thick. And quite frankly, it's already having trouble with the fact that I've got these little lip things here. So I'm just going to put a nose foundation in for now and let that dry, and I will sculpt it out later after the lip sections have had time to dry up. Watch your beach ball if you work outside, because if it's hot, it's going to inflate. And even if it doesn't blow out, then it will distort your wraps. Kind of curious, actually. Yeah, the beach ball can shrink and swell. See if that eliminates any of the lines. Might be a terrible idea. Might be a brilliant idea. I don't know. Alright, we're going to throw this guy in front of the fan. Balloons do the same thing as beach ball, but balloons are infinitely thinner and a bit more prone to explosion and heat, swell, and shrinkage. So, temperature control is recommended with the balloons. All right. Right back. Throw this guy in front of the fan. Hopefully not trip over too many things. In fact, actually, I'm going to throw this guy in front of the fan, and I'm going to use the restroom. I'm going to throw throw up the BRB screen briefly. Be right back. There we go. This clay is nice. I like this. I like this a lot. I think it's a huge improvement for me over trying to replicate Joni's method. Pardon. Alright, let's do some work on Letty's pumpkin. First thing we're going to do is seal up these cracks. A little bit more cracking than I was expecting to see. Unfortunately, just doing a little bit of remoistening seems to take care of it. We'll see if that maintains. Alright, let's give her a little bit more eyebrow accentuation. A little bit more nose accentuation. This is going to be a lot better for first timers. Much better for first timers. I think the one thing I like about this toilet paper clay better instantly is the fact that I really do not have to worry about any kind of clumpy bumpies. There simply are none. It's all a homogeneous mix. Consequently, it's just behaving nicely. Hello, fuzzy cat. Majesty, good kitty cat. I'm using these silicone-tipped sculpting tools. And I like them because nothing sticks to them. You can just as easily use a pen or pencil, but you run the slight risk, depending on your clay's consistency, of having your clay kind of adhere a little bit to the pen or pencil, which can be mildly annoying, depending on how badly it's doing it. Never usually that bad, but, you know. With these things, I know it will never stick. And otherwise, I am using my paintbrush here, my dollar store brush, covered with some slightly watered down mache paste. And that takes a lot of the ruffity-duffities out of it. And if you find that you're getting brush marks that are a little too annoying, then you just take your finger. Make sure your finger's got a slight coating of paste on it, and just smooth down the area. It all works about the same. Somewhat oddly enough, with this this clay mix, because the toilet paper fibers are so fine in there, it will hold on to brush marks if you've got a very rough brush. Nobody will see or notice this or care, but if you're kind of OCD about your sculpting, you might see brush marks in there and start to get twitchy. I know I do. Alright. So we've done some brow accents and a nose accent. And now I want to cover up this filthy cellulose clay on the lower jaw here. Man, who uses cellulose clay anymore? Ew. Peasant. If I was given both clays right now as an absolute new person who hadn't done this before, I would go with the toilet paper clay. It's completely homogenized. You're not going to find lumpy bumpies in it. You're not going to have to pick out little pieces of plastic. It smooths much better. I would hesitate. Well, in fact, I wouldn't hesitate to say it smooths considerably better. So, yeah. If somebody handed me both clays right now and said, do pumpkin, I'd go with the toilet paper clay. In fact, I'm probably being a little bit... Yeah, let's do it more that way. I believe it would be more expensive, but there are places where you can get really stupid cheap toilet paper. I was just looking online a couple of days ago, and it was like someplace called like Cleaning Supplies IT, and they had a thing where like for an initial investment of about $250, I could get enough friggin' toilet paper to last me ages. Mind you, I made all of this plus what I've already used on the other pumpkin with about 1.5 rolls of toilet paper. So the cost index is probably not as bad as we're thinking. This is not COVID toilet paper rates, and it's not like you have to buy, the Downy Ultra Soft with aloe vera for your, tired and tortured tush hole. I can buy orphanage grade toilet paper for relatively inexpensive amounts. Not as low as the cellulose insulation, no, but by no means Charmin triple ply levels either. And what I really want to do, though, is do a pumpkin completely this way. And that'll probably be during the video for my first pumpkin segment. I think this stuff is superior. We also have to see further about drying, though, because the last recipe I did, where I tried to copy Joni's stuff, that stuff took/is taking forever to dry. It cannot handle large layers. Really, just it can't do it without needing like some oven time or some dehydrator time. It does not like it at all. So there's still desalutary factors to keep in mind. Pardon. Side-by-side comparison, though, definitely toilet paper. And in a way, cost-wise, you run into a nice thing, because cheaper, more god-awful toilet paper is probably better for the mache, because you want it to crumble into tiny paper particles in the mix more rapidly. do some push down. Push, 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 push. The worse the TP, the better the Sculpty. But I definitely prefer my variant on Joni's stuff to her standard way of doing it. It's not to say there's anything wrong with her method. She makes beautiful stuff that I consider to be better than my stuff. But I like how this clay works a little bit more. Time to go smooth crazy. Stop that before I get flagged for copyright infringement. Friggin' YouTube. Yeah, it's playing in my head right now. Because I'm not allowed to play it. One thing I am finding is that in the smoothing process, because the fibers of the toilet paper are so fine, they are getting a little bit clogged up in the brush, but that is really not a huge problem, I don't believe. Hey, Michael, how we doing? Weehaw! Alright, now the big question is, do we want this guy to have a big, fat, orcish jaw? Personally, I don't really see a problem with it. In fact, I think this will be easier if I have a great big fat orcish jaw and then make modifications later. And we still have to see how well this stuff dries. Alright, have a good one, Roseanne. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you next time around. Gonna start to wind down pretty soon anyhow. Once we set this one up for drying, I'm just going to use up the paste that I've got left on the larger project. It's going to be the pumpkin first methodology. Once that one's all coated and set, we'll be out of clay. And ready for some prolonged drying time. I imagine this stuff will be pretty good for filing, sanding, and post-processing if we feel we have to do any of that. But there's his modified up face, brow enhancement, nose enhancement, lower jaw redo, and again the normal. Bleh. Of course, I just goobered an area. I'm not going to juggle him anymore. Just going to throw him in front of the fan and call him good. And then we'll grab the pumpkin first one and prototype it. Or I should say continue to prototype it. I really love having a drying area again. Pardon. What burp's coming up this morning? I think the next time I brew this toilet paper clay, I'm going to reduce the amount of glue that I use. Let's see if we can take the tack down a little bit. I'm getting that kid in kindergarten, I got glue on my hands sensation here. I can peel up little plates. And that's not awful in any way, but if I can drop the tack by just a little bit, we're really approaching like perfect clay. Okay. And here we actually have a really good comparison. Let's take a quick trip. So, let's adjust the lighting. Echo, turn off craft light. That's probably the best, at least on what I'm seeing. Okay, so what we have right here is an excellent comparison case between the toilet paper and the cellulose fiber. Toilet paper is on your guys' right, cellulose fiber is on your left. Lighting situation is more or less static, but here's your toilet paper, and then we'll continue to rotate right over, and then we're into the cellulose fiber. And the cellulose fiber is showing me all sorts of just slumping and surface irregularities that the toilet paper really minimizes on. Toilet paper does have some cracking down in there though, but cracking is incredibly easy to get rid of. It does have its own surface irregularities, though. The camera's not picking up on them terribly well, but you can kind of see some of the slimy bits in there where it has its own irregularities. And right here in particular is not perfect. But I kind of like it compared to the rumple surface deformity of the fiber. I believe I also did put this fiber into the dehydrator. So that could be one of the reasons for some of this slumping. I didn't let it dry slowly over a prolonged period of time. Whereas this toilet paper clay was allowed to simply sit out with a fan on it for quite a while. But there's definitely a comparison case between the surface textures. And there's that edge where they meet. And the thinner that you can get the toilet paper clay, it seems to be kind of the better that finish comes out. There might even be a case for making a toilet paper clay slip to give a final coating onto a pumpkin. We'll see. That's why I experiment. Experiment, and then produce a tutorial. Echo, turn on craft light. But we have enough left here to resurface this thing. Let's see how easy that is. Who knows, if we're lucky, we actually won't have enough to cover the entire surface. And that would be good too. We can have one area that is... In fact, let's try to do that. That way we can take a look at the final painted product. Have a stupidly clear comparison. a lot of tack on my hands. Not terrible, but not welcome either. Ugh. Let's get goop off. Here we go. also try a little bit of Hey, Lindsay, how we doing? Yeah. Oh, it's starting to run out of stuff there. Which is surprising, because that's the last thing I thought I would run out of. Set here. Add a little bit more water to that. And then because I added water, grab some glurt from the sides because it was already hitting good. Side glurp should fix it. Alright. Side glurp is not fixing it as well as I thought it would. Have a good one, Marlena. Oh, we'll we'll catch ya next time we catch ya. Alright. Almost there, almost there. Let's grab some fishing line. Grab some creases. Yeah! Streaming a little bit early today. So a few more folks from different regions have been able to tune in. Trying to solve the toilet paper pumpkin paste riddle. How are things going in your neck of the woods, Lindsay? Well, I'm glad the rain has broken some of the heat. Yeah, we're trying the toilet paper clay, which I really like. And for the My First Pumpkin video, it's going to be so much better to have on the ingredient list than the whatchamacallit, the cellulose fiber. Everybody can get toilet paper. Cellulose fiber tends to vary a little bit too much by country and availability. But everybody's got toilet paper. Getting some globules in this stuff that I don't really like. I'm not sure where it's from. We've had gray, stormy-ish, gray, rainy, gumpy, gloomy weather for about a week now. But fortunately, we haven't had any super hot ones either. because otherwise it would be heat and humidity, and no. I say no, thank you. Get these weird bumplets here whenever I go with too much water in this mix. Finding that very interesting. They're not intolerable because I'm sure they'll sand right off, but they're not as smooth as the regular stuffy duff by itself. Yeah, I know that in the UK and Ireland, trying to find the supply is an absolute pain in the tuchus. So I had somebody from around Waterford trying to get stuff, and they just couldn't. And even the places that had it wouldn't sell to you unless you were like a contractor. Like you had to have like some sort of contractor's license to actually get the stuff, and I thought that was just horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Now, this is actually an artifact of the toilet paper clay only. Like cellulose clay wouldn't care if I was hitting it with just water, but this stuff, when I hit it with just water, really starts to, the surface breaks up more. That's not a problem, but it's an interesting observation. I'll just fix my my smoothing clay, or my smoothing mix. There we go. That should handle it. Alright, we'll just, do some big grooves. Just a couple. No problem. Take care, Lindsay. We'll catch you around. I have no doubt. Yeah. This is pretty much done anyways. All right. Fantastic. And we have a small area of exposed cellulose clay for comparison, which will be really nice. A small spot here. That's better. Alright. No point going all perfectionist on it. I'll be curious to see how these water dimples pan out. And I kind of want to try to do the excessive spray. On one side. Then we'll have the other side for comparison. So this side will have the excessive spray, and that side will just be normal-ish. Except for this part here. think that has extraordinary promise for smoothing. But I could be full of crap. And it could just make everything go hog wild runny. Alright. Let me stick this over in the drying spot. If it will stay up. And then we'll wrap it up. I'm gonna need some more flour pretty soon. Today has been a hell of an adventure. I am really impressed with the viability of the toilet paper. Whee! Back in a sec. That fan had a higher setting than high. Fantastic. Alright, so we learned that you can use the regular paper clay method with toilet paper to get what, in my opinion, is a superior version of Joni's clay. For my purposes. I think Joni's better at what she does than I am at what I do. But I like that variant on her clay more than I like trying to replicate her recipe. I think that those pumpkins... I also think that forced drying versus long-term air drying has got a differential built in it. And I think the toilet paper clay is superior to the cellulose in terms of a first-timer's usability. Cost is probably a bit higher. How much higher? I don't know. I'd have to calculate. I can really feel glue. It's rubber. But otherwise, much cool learned stuff today. A hell of a good time, and we're going to have some great experimental data on these clays. We also had a good chat about pricing your work for hobby versus sales and livability. Echo, what time is it?
It's 1:32 p.m.
And that means it's getting close to lunchtime. All right. So for everybody who is still hanging out, thank you very much for chilling with me today on this wonderful pumpkining stream. We will continue to screw around and do more stuff, and I'm really looking forward to those results. But otherwise, take care, have fun, and until later, keep your pumpkins shining bright.